You hit submit on that job application and then crickets. It can feel like your carefully crafted resume just vanishes into thin air.
It really can feel that way sometimes.
But what if I told you there's a whole unseen world at play? Today on The Deep Dive, we're pulling back the curtain on the silent forces shaping modern job hunting. We've been digging through material from Muammar Lone, exploring everything from building a killer digital portfolio and mastering LinkedIn to understanding the algorithms that act as gatekeepers and the new strategies you need in this AI-driven era.
Exactly. It's a completely different landscape than even, say, 10 years ago. We're going to try and shed some light on these hidden aspects.
And connect them to bigger shifts, right?
Right, and connect them to some really significant shifts. Think about how we can leverage technology to enhance human potential in HR. Muammar Lone calls this humanity elevated, which is a really interesting concept.
Humanity elevated.
And we'll explore what all of this means for the future of HR itself, driven by these new tools and these skills-based approaches. We've looked at guides covering digital portfolios, social media mastery for professionals, strategic skill mapping, creating resumes that can pass that algorithmic sniff test, and just navigating the new rules of engagement in the age of AI.
And that brings us to some really important questions, I think, that we need to answer for you, the listener. Like, what are employers actually looking for when they do their online homework on you?
Good question.
How do these algorithms decide who even gets seen by a human? How can you create application materials that not only satisfy the robots, but also, truly resonate with human recruiters?
The human element, yeah.
And fundamentally, what are the skills that are going to be most valuable moving forward in this evolving job market?
Okay, let's dive into something that's often overlooked, but incredibly powerful: your digital footprint. Yeah, what's fascinating is how your online presence acts as this sort of silent first impression. Long before an interview, maybe even before they properly read your resume, employers are forming opinions.
Really? Based on what they find online?
Yeah, consider this statistic. A massive 92% of employers review candidates' online presence before they make hiring decisions.
92%. Wow. That's almost everyone.
It's almost universal. And it's not just a quick search either. They're looking with purpose.
Right. It gets even more specific. I think I saw something like 70% of employers are actively using social media to screen candidates.
That's the figure, yes, 70%. But here's a piece of the puzzle many forget. It's not just when you're applying. A significant number, 43% of employers, regularly monitor the social media of their current employees too.
Okay, so your online activity is really part of your ongoing professional narrative. It doesn't stop once you get the job.
Precisely. It highlights the need for a consistent and, thoughtful approach to managing your digital presence throughout your career.
Makes sense.
Now, when we talk about making a positive impact online, let's think about your digital portfolio. Our sources indicate that LinkedIn profiles that include a portfolio get up to 7 times more views.
7 times? That's huge.
It's a phenomenal increase, right?
Yeah.
It just demonstrates the power of showing your skills rather than just listing them on a resume. Think of it like building a case for yourself online.
Showing, not just telling. Okay, so what are the essential building blocks of a strong digital portfolio in today's environment? How do you build that case?
Well, the material we've analyzed suggests thinking about it as a structured system. You've got different layers.
Layers.
Yeah. You have your social proof ecosystem, things like your LinkedIn recommendations, your engagement in online communities, maybe awards or recognition you've received. These act as sort of third-party endorsements.
Like testimonials?
Kind of, yeah. Then you have your specialized platforms. These are industry-specific places to showcase your work in detail. Think GitHub for developers, Behance for designers, that kind of thing.
Okay, platform-specific proof.
Exactly. And at the core, the most important piece, perhaps, is your core portfolio hub. This is typically a personal website that serves as the central point, linking all your professional activities together.
A central hub that connects everything else that makes perfect sense, like Grand Central Station for your professional self online.
That's a good way to put it.
So, what are the must-have elements for that core portfolio hub? What needs to be in there?
Several key things make it effective. First, a compelling narrative. A well-crafted story about your professional journey, what drives you, what you're passionate about.
Your why.
Your why, exactly. Second, strategic work samples. These should be your strongest projects, the ones most directly relevant to your career goals. Don't just dump everything in there.
Be selective.
Be very selective. Third, and this is crucial, Process documentation, showing the steps you took, your problem-solving approach, how you got from A to B.
Okay, the how.
The how. Fourth, quantified results whenever possible. Use numbers, use data to demonstrate the impact of your work, what changed because of what you did.
Measurable impact.
Got it. And finally, contextual framing. Explain the challenges you face on each project, the constraints you worked under, and maybe the lessons you learned along the way.
So it's not just the glossy final product.
Not at all. Think of your core portfolio as your proof of impact center. Each element, narrative, samples, process, results, context, is a layer of evidence demonstrating your ability to solve problems and deliver real value.
You mentioned process documentation. It sounds important, but maybe a little, I don't know, dry. Why is it so valuable for employers to see how you work, not just what you produced?
That's a fair question. What's fascinating here is that employers aren't just hiring a finished product, like a website or a report. They're hiring a way of thinking, a problem solver.
Oh.
Documenting your process, maybe capturing your progress with notes or screenshots, explaining your key decisions and why you made them, even keeping track of different iterations or versions, it gives employers a window into your methodology, your critical thinking skills.
So it makes your thought process visible.
Exactly. It makes your thinking tangible.
Interesting. It's about demonstrating your approach, not just the final result. Now, the material also mentioned case study frameworks. How do these help showcase your work effectively?
These frameworks provide a structured way to communicate the value you brought to a project. Think of it as telling a story with a clear beginning, middle, and end.
Like a mini narrative for each project.
Precisely. A well-structured case study will clearly define the problem or the challenge you were addressing and why it mattered. Then explain and justify the approach you took, why this method.
Right.
Then illustrate the process you followed, maybe with visuals. After that, demonstrate the tangible outcomes of your work. And crucially, quantify the impact with specific metrics wherever possible.
Numbers again.
Numbers matter. And finally, include a reflection. What did you learn? How might you approach similar challenges differently next time? It's a powerful, story-driven way to present your capabilities.
That sounds much more compelling than just a list of duties. And to make these stories even more compelling, the sources discuss before-after demonstrations and skill demonstration projects. What are these all about?
Yeah, these are great ways to make your impact concrete. Before-after demonstrations are incredibly effective visually. Think of a UI redesign where you show the old screen versus the new one, highlighting improvements in usability or maybe conversion rates.
Instant visual proof.
Exactly. Or charts clearly showing performance metrics, website traffic, sales figures before and after your intervention. It's very direct.
Okay, and the skill demonstration projects.
These are a bit different. They're focused, targeted projects designed specifically to showcase particular skills in a real-world context. Maybe something you build on your own time.
Like a passion project.
Could be, yeah. These should have a clear objective, address a realistic problem, be executed to a professional standard, even if it's personal work, and be thoroughly documented to explain your approach and the outcomes. It shows initiative and specific expertise.
So you've got this great case study, maybe with a before-after, sitting on your core website. How do you then amplify that? How do you get it seen across different platforms to reach the right people? That's where this content adaptation matrix comes in.
Exactly.
Wow.
The idea is you don't just create content once and leave it. You take that core comprehensive case study and strategically repurpose it for different online channels. Tailor it.
So one project becomes multiple pieces of content.
Potentially, yes. So you might have the full detailed version on your personal website. Then maybe you put code snippets and the technical deep dive on GitHub if you're a developer.
Okay.
Visually focused aspects like mock-ups or final designs could go on Behance or Dribbble for a designer. You might write a more narrative-driven article about the challenges and learnings on Medium or LinkedIn articles. Or even create a short video walkthrough for YouTube explaining the project. It's all stemming from that single piece of core work, but adapted for the platform and its audience.
That's a really smart way to maximize your effort and reach. Now, with all this online content, you're essentially communicating with two different audiences, aren't you? There are the AI systems, the algorithms, that initially scan your information.
Right, the box.
And then there are the human recruiters, the hiring managers, who hopefully take a closer look later. How do you create content that effectively speaks to both? That seems tricky.
It is tricky. This is where having a strong dual audience content strategy is essential. It's a balancing act.
Okay, how do you balance it?
Well, for the AI systems, you need clarity and structure. Think clear, concise titles that include relevant keywords. Use well-structured data like proper headings and lists. Add text descriptions for any visuals because AI can't see images the way we do.
Alt text and captions?
Exactly. Use industry-standard terminology consistently and make sure the formatting is clean and easily parsable. Simple layouts work best.
So structured and keyword-rich for the AI. What about the humans?
For human reviewers, you need engagement. Compelling storytelling that brings your experience to life. Let your unique personality and perspective shine through. Don't sound like a robot yourself.
Right.
Use a clear visual hierarchy headings, white space, maybe bold text to guide their attention to the most important information quickly. And craft a narrative that highlights not just what you did, but also your collaborative skills, your problem-solving approach, the impact you made on teams or the business.
It's a delicate balance, making it machine-readable and human-engaging.
It absolutely is.
And that balance is also critical for your resume itself, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we know, and this statistic is always shocking to me, that a staggering 99% of Fortune 500 companies use applicant tracking systems, ATS, to initially screen candidates.
99%. That's absolutely correct. These systems are essentially the first line of defense, the gatekeepers, for a vast number of job openings, especially at larger companies.
Gatekeepers, that's a good word for it.
Yeah. And here's another stark statistic related to that. Our sources suggest that as many as 75% of qualified resumes might never even be seen by a human recruiter.
75%. Just filtered out.
Filter out by the ATS before a person ever lays eyes on them. It's a significant and often invisible hurdle in the job search.
Wow. So the core insight here is you have to optimize for the machine first, just to get a chance with the human.
You have to be both machine-readable and human-engaging. Prioritize clear structure and relevant keywords for that initial AI scan, definitely. But you absolutely must ensure your accomplishments and unique value shine through compellingly for the human reader who makes the final call.
So your resume essentially has these dual readers, the algorithmic systems and the human recruiters. And you mentioned earlier that the initial amount of time a human spends reviewing a resume is shockingly short. What was it?
Generally cited as around 6 to 7 seconds for that first initial scan.
6 seconds. That's barely enough time to register your name, let alone your experience.
Exactly. It's incredibly fast, which underscores the need for really strategic placement of your most important qualifications. You need to grab their attention immediately.
So how do you do that? The sources discuss a resume heat map, right? What does that tell us?
Yeah, the heat map concept is useful. It highlights the areas that both the AI systems and human readers tend to focus on most intensely. For both, things like your name and contact info, your current or most recent job title and company, the main section headings, and usually the first few bullet points under each role description. Those are typically high attention areas.
Where their eyes go first.
Precisely. Then things like skill sections, education details, and quantified achievements throughout the experience section tend to fall into the medium attention range. Knowing this helps you prioritize where you place your most compelling information, put the good stuff near the top and beginning of sections.
Front load the value. Okay, so what exactly is the ATS doing with your resume once you click that submit button? What's happening behind the scenes?
It goes through a series of key processes, basically breaking your resume down. First is document parsing. The system tries to read and categorize the information, like separating out your work experience from your education, skills, contact info, etc., into a structured digital format.
Trying to understand the layout.
Exactly. Then comes keyword analysis. This is crucial. It scans your resume for specific keywords and phrases that match those programmed into the system, usually based on the job description.
Looking for matches.
Right. After that, there's often qualification screening. It checks if your stated qualifications, like years of experience, degrees, specific certifications, meet the minimum requirements set for the role.
A basic check.
A basic check, yes. And finally, candidate ranking. Based on how well your resume seems to match the job description's keywords and qualifications, the system often ranks you against other applicants. High matches move forward, low matches don't.
Filtered out. Okay. So given all that, how do you optimize your resume to actually work effectively with these systems? What are the practical steps?
Document structure optimization is fundamental. It starts there. Use clear, standard section headings like experience or work history, education, and skills. Don't get too creative with headings the ATS might not recognize.
Keep it simple.
Keep it standard. Maintain a clear chronological order for your work history. Usually reverse chronological is preferred. Choose ATS-friendly file formats. Docs is often the safest bet because it's easily parsed. A simple text-based PDF is usually okay too, but avoid image-based PDFs.
Why docs over PDF sometimes?
Some older ATS systems can struggle with parsing certain PDF formats, especially complex ones. DOCX is generally more straightforward for them to read accurately, and stick to a clean, single-column layout. Columns, tables, text boxes can confuse the parsing process.
Good to know. Avoid fancy formatting.
Absolutely. Even seemingly minor details like using consistent date formatting, e.g. MMYYY or month YYY, can impact how well the system parses your information. Simplicity and clarity are key for the machine.
And then there's the critical keyword optimization strategy. We mentioned keywords are huge. How do you figure out which keywords to include to get past those initial algorithmic filters?
Yeah.
It can't just be guesswork.
No, definitely not guesswork. It starts with a thorough job description analysis. You need to meticulously read the job posting you're applying for, identify both the explicit requirements, the must-haves, and also try to read between the lines for the implied skills or qualities they're seeking.
Okay, deep dive into the job ad.
Exactly. Then conduct a frequency assessment. See which relevant terms, skills, tools, qualifications appear most often in that specific job posting. Those are likely high-priority keywords for the ATS.
Got it. Look for repetition.
Yes. Incorporate these primary keywords naturally within your job titles if appropriate, and definitely in the first few bullet points under your relevant experience descriptions. Weave them contextually throughout your accomplishment.
Naturally being the key word there, right? Don't just stuff them in.
Please don't. Keyword stuffing is obvious to humans, and some newer ATS systems might even flag it. The goal is to make sure your resume reads naturally and clearly showcases your achievements using the language the employer understands and is looking for.
The sources also mention some common ATS pitfalls that job seekers should actively avoid. What are some of the biggest mistakes people make that just kill their chances with the ATS?
Oh, there are several common ones. Definitely avoid using excessive graphic elements, things like charts, graphs, tables, logos, even pictures. These can often confuse the parsing algorithms or just get ignored entirely.
So keep the visuals minimal or non-existent on the submitted version?
Pretty much, yeah. Also, steer clear of non-standard characters or unusual fonts. Stick to common readable fonts like Arial, Calibri, Times New Roman.
Yeah.
Always ensure you're using a compatible file format, again, .doc, or a simple text-based PDF are generally best. Avoid formats like .pages or .ode unless specifically requested.
Got it.
And a big one. Remember that any text embedded within images, like in a header or footer image, is usually invisible to the ATS. All your important information, skills, experience needs to be in actual text format.
Okay, plain text is king for the ATS.
Yeah.
This whole process sounds like you really need to understand the broader keyword ecosystem, as the material puts it. What does that involve? It sounds complex.
It's about recognizing that important keywords come from different places, different categories. It's not just one list.
All kinds of categories.
Well, first, there are the obvious job-specific keywords that come directly from the job description itself. Tailoring for these is essential for each application.
Right, the immediate target.
Then there's industry standard terminology, the jargon, the common skills, the established technologies used within your specific field. You need to show you speak the language of your profession. Company-specific language can also be important. Sometimes companies have their own ways of describing roles, values, or initiatives. You can often find these on their website in their About Us section or their mission statements. Using some of their language shows you've done your homework.
Show alignment.
Exactly. And finally, there are terms aligned with formal skill classification systems. Things like LinkedIn's massive skills taxonomy. I think it has over 36,000 skills listed now, or government databases like OneNet in the US. Aligning with these standardized terms helps ensure broad recognizability by different systems.
36,000 skills.
Yeah, it's huge. Understanding this whole ecosystem allows you to be more strategic and comprehensive in your keyword usage, covering different bases.
So how do you actually go about uncovering these different types of keywords, especially the industry and company-specific ones? What are some effective research methods?
There are several practical techniques. For job description mining, beyond just frequency, you can use contextual analysis. How are keywords used in relation to responsibilities? You can categorize the listed requirements, technical, soft skills, tools. You can map out the implicit skills embedded within the described duties.
Okay, reading deeper.
For industry terminology research, look at multiple similar job postings from different companies in your field. Check out industry reports, white papers, the curricula for relevant professional certifications. What language do they use?
Good tips.
For company-specific language research, thoroughly analyze their corporate website, read their recent press releases or news articles. Look at the LinkedIn profiles of current employees in roles similar to the one you want. How do they describe their work and skills?
Checking out the insiders. Smart.
Understanding these systems, like LinkedIn's taxonomy or ONET, isn't about memorizing thousands of skills. It's more about recognizing that there's a standardized language emerging that employers and platforms use. Aligning your language with these standards just increases your visibility.
It sounds like there are even technological tools available now to help with this keyword optimization process. Makes it a bit less manual, maybe.
Absolutely. Technology can help streamline this. There are keyword implementation tools you can use. Things like specialized resume optimization platforms. You upload your resume and the job description, and it gives you a match score and suggests keywords you might be missing.
Like a spell checker for keywords.
Sort of, yeah. There are also ATS simulation tools that try to mimic how different ATS systems might parse your resume so you can see potential formatting issues. And even general text analysis tools can help you identify keyword frequencies and patterns. They can be incredibly valuable resources for refining your strategy.
But I have to ask, with all this intense focus on algorithms and keywords, isn't there a danger of just creating a resume that sounds robotic? It's vital to remember that ultimately, hopefully, a human being will be reading it, right? How do you strike that crucial human-algorithm balance?
That's absolutely the key point. You nailed it. Never sacrifice clarity, readability, and genuine communication for the sake of just cramming in keywords. That's counterproductive.
So how do you manage it?
Use natural language. Integrate keywords smoothly within well-written sentences that actually showcase how you've applied those skills to achieve tangible results and solve problems. Focus on accomplishments, not just listing skills.
Tell the story.
Tell the story, exactly. While including relevant keywords is important for getting past that initial ATS screening, you absolutely must ensure your resume tells a compelling narrative that resonates with a human reader, highlights your unique value, and makes them want to talk to you. Readability first, optimization second, or rather woven together.
That makes a lot of sense. Don't lose the human touch in trying to please the machine.
Precisely.
So looking ahead now, thinking about the bigger picture, how is AI continuing to shape the broader HR technology landscape? And how does this connect back to that idea you mentioned earlier from Will Marlone, humanity elevated?
Yeah, it's a really important connection. If we zoom out to the future of HR technology, AI is becoming increasingly integrated into pretty much every stage of the hiring process, far beyond just initial resume screening.
More than just ATS.
Oh yeah, much more. We're seeing more sophisticated AI tools for tasks like skill inference, where the AI tries to identify skills you have based on your experience descriptions, even if you haven't explicitly listed them.
Wow, reading between the lines.
Kind of. Also, AI is being used for building more comprehensive candidate profiles, pulling data from various sources, perhaps, and for matching individuals to opportunities with potentially greater precision based on skills alignment.
Okay.
The underlying trend driving a lot of this is that significant shift towards a more skills-based approach to hiring and talent management overall. Specific capabilities, skill clusters are becoming more valued, sometimes even more than traditional job titles or degrees alone. The half-life of skills is shrinking, so continuous adaptation is key.
The great decoupling, I think it's sometimes called. Skills over job titles.
That's one way it's framed, yes. Now, how this connects to humanity elevated is, I think, the really interesting part. The idea isn't that AI replaces humans entirely in HR.
Hopefully not.
No, the idea is that AI takes over the more repetitive, data-heavy initial sorting and screening tasks, the things machines are good at. This, in theory, frees up human HR professionals and hiring managers to focus on what they do best.
Which is?
Which is assessing those uniquely human qualities. Things like deep critical thinking, creativity, complex problem solving, leadership potential, emotional intelligence, cultural fit, genuine engagement, things a computer, at least for now, can't truly gauge.
So AI handles the volume, humans handle the nuance.
That's the concept of humanity elevated in this context. AI augments human capabilities, leading to a potentially more efficient, maybe even fairer, initial screening process, allowing human judgment to be applied where it truly matters most in the deeper evaluation and final decision-making.
Okay, that's a more optimistic view of AI in hiring than just seeing it as a barrier.
It can be, if implemented thoughtfully.
So for you, our listener, navigating this really complex and evolving world of job hunting, What's the most critical takeaway from our deep dive today? If you remember one thing.
I think the essential understanding is that these often unseen aspects of the job, search your digital footprint, the algorithmic gatekeepers like ATS, and this growing emphasis on specific demonstrable skills, these are no longer things you can afford to overlook or treat as an afterthought. They are central now.
Exactly. It's about being proactive and really strategic.
Right.
Building a strong, consistent, and professional digital presence. Understanding how to communicate effectively with both AI systems and human recruiters in your application materials. And continuously focusing on developing, documenting, and showcasing your relevant skills. These are the keys, really, to navigating this new landscape successfully.
Precisely. By taking a thoughtful and informed approach to these areas, your online brand, your resume optimization, your skills portfolio, you can significantly improve your chances of not just being seen, but truly standing out and ultimately landing your ideal role in this increasingly AI-driven job market.
So here's maybe a final thought for you to consider as we wrap up. As AI continues to advance and become even more deeply integrated into all aspects of HR and talent acquisition, how might our fundamental understanding of what constitutes an ideal candidate evolve even further?
That's a big question.
It is. And what new skills might become absolutely crucial? Maybe skills we aren't even focusing on heavily right now. Not only for job seekers trying to stand out, but also for the HR professionals themselves who need to manage and interpret all this technology effectively in this increasingly automated world.
Yeah, what does good look like in 5, 10 years? And what skills do HR people need to leverage AI ethically and effectively?
Definitely something to ponder. We encourage you to perhaps revisit your own job hunting strategies, maybe your LinkedIn profile or your resume, in light of these insights.
Good idea. A little digital spring cleaning, perhaps.
And we look forward to our next deep dives into the ever-evolving world of work and technology.